Hi everybody. Of course, my name is Miri Cordaro, and we are here with my partner for crime, right? Caroline Blossel, and we have our guest for today, Jesse Stanton, the Jesse Stanton, right? 'Cause I know a lot of people either watching it today or going to watch it in the future actually know who's Jesse Stanton. But before we start and get Jesse to actually introduce himself, I just wanted to say that a little bit how I met Jesse. I feel like I know you forever. I actually, by the way, adopted him as my son since I can be his mother, even though he teaches me, right? But I met Jesse almost 4 years ago. I think we kind of started then back and then we kind of lost touch. And then we reconvened when the Elephant Challenge happened. And we were the tribe of millionaire. Oh my gosh, I love that. It was like we decided we are the tribe of millionaire. We read the book, which is awesome. If you guys didn't read it, you should read it. It's an awesome book. And since I think last couple years, I think Jesse trying to get rid of me, but he's not going to because I'm not going to let him. So here I am. I love working a little bit with Jesse behind the scene. He's awesome. He's my mentor, even though I think I fought him quite a bit on the way because like I was like resisting what he was teaching, but then I said, okay, forget it. I'm done. I'm bowing down. I'm going to do it as you said. And things are it's not like it's easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So that's how I know Jesse. But so Jesse, I know a lot of people know you, really truly do know you. But so anyway, even for people that never heard of you, or maybe people that are in our sphere, tell us who you are and a little bit kind of what you do.
For sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, Carolyn and Miri, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to um, have some fun with you guys today and to learn from each other. Miri says that she learns from me, but I equally learn just as much from her. And it's neat to be able to have people around you in your atmosphere. Where you kind of have this push-pull relationship, and everybody's pushing each other and growing and receiving, and there's just nothing but abundance and love. And I'm just tickled pink at the opportunity that I've had to be able to get to know Miri and now you, Carolyn. So thank you both so much for the opportunity to be here today. I'm really grateful and appreciative of it. So I live in a small igloo up here in a small village called Wasilla, Alaska. And I've been here for off and on. Originally got up here in 2010. And ladies, you know what? The irony about this whole thing, I hated it. It was like I was stationed up here in the military. I was here from 2010 to 2013. Hated it. It was like a 3-year prison sentence. I was like, get me the heck out of here. I mean, there was nothing up here. I mean, there still really isn't. But at least now we've got a Texas Roadhouse,
Oh, woohoo!
and a Red Robin. So they know I know where I'm going on Friday nights. They know me pretty well over there. But I moved down to Phoenix and was there for about 5 years. My wife is a nurse. She went to nursing school down there. And, it's so funny. You do so much growing in your mid-20s specifically, and we ended up popping out a couple kids while we were down there as well. And so when you start just having kids, it's funny just how you evolve as a person, how your priorities change just naturally. And we thought, there was a lot going down there at the time. As you guys might know, I-10 runs right through Phoenix. I mean, there was so much crime and just all sorts of just civil unrest
Yeah.
going on down there. This was like around that 14, 15, 16. I mean, there's a lot going on in the country, but, there was people, I remember people getting shot down
Oh,
I-10. Like people are just going to work and there was like somebody that was just out with a rifle just shooting people down I-10.
oh my goodness.
And we thought, holy cow, you know what? You know where a cool place to raise a family might be?
Alaska.
Alaska. So we ended
Oh
up moving back up here in 2018 and we just went all in. We just embraced everything Alaska had to offer. I was fortunate enough to get stationed back up here. And I told myself during that whole rebirth of just, maturing and growing and all that kind of stuff, because I after I left Alaska, as I'm sure you guys could probably imagine, I would go visit home and my mom would be like, oh, this is Jesse and he's my oldest son and he's in the military and he lives in Alaska. And of course, when anybody hears you live in Alaska, it's about as foreign to most people as Mars is. So they're like, well, what's it like? And what do you love doing? And man, I between us gals, I got so tired of seeing the disappointment on everybody's face when I told them that I didn't do anything in Alaska. I just started lying. And I was like, man, you know what? It's great. It's fantastic. The fishing is world class. You got to get up there. And you know what? I told myself that if I ever had the opportunity to get back, I would do it right. So we got up here in 2018. We embraced it. We went all in. We got a camper. We got some fishing gear. And it has just been exquisite ever since.
Well, so yeah, I have to know if you have snowmobiles too on top of the camper and the fishing equipment. You
You know what? That's something that it's been on my radar. Something I've been wanting. I grew up in Idaho, riding snow machines all the time, but it's just something I haven't quite done up here. I usually use the winters. We're in like hibernation mode now, so winters are long up here. A lot of people think that it's the snow that gets you, the cold. It's not. It's the darkness.
I used to live in Sweden, so I know what you mean by the darkness and the light. Because I was trying to think, where are you in relationship to Anchorage, and then you have Fairbanks, kind of in the middle of the state. And isn't there a military base there near Fairbanks?
There is, yeah. They have an Army and an Air Force base up there in Fairbanks.
Okay. Yeah. So where are you and then I had a daughter that lived, she spent a summer talking about getting away from things, where she had a boyfriend, and I thought, I need her to go someplace really far, far, far away, somewhere where he can't like drive and get there. And then she came home and she said, I'm going to Alaska for this summer.
Good.
And, what's the capital?
Juneau?
Juno?
Yeah, Juneau, where all the cruise ships come in. And I was like, yes. So, but yeah, she talked about just 4th of July, you had to wait till it got dark around midnight, whereas you live, it's even later than that. And I don't know, I was just in Sweden over there midsummer, where there's no darkness at all, which is...
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that such a new experience for it to be like 1 or 2 in the morning, and you're like, well, do you want to go hike, or go mow the lawn and go do some yard work, or what do you have in mind?
Right there, it really is interesting when there's no time frame related to darkness that you're living with. It's everyone stays up late, and you still kind of get up at the same time, even though you go to bed at midnight feeling like it's only like 9 o'clock in the evening. But it is, but you're kind of living it up, because you know that the darkness is coming, and
for sure,
while it's daylight, you're just going to enjoy every second of that sunshine as possible. So,
absolutely.
Wow. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, is that how you pronounce it, or how do you pronounce where you live, your town that you live in?
Wasilla. It's about 45 minutes north of Anchorage.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking it was close to there because of what's her name?
Sarah Palin?
Yeah.
Yeah, we throw snowballs at her back door. Yeah, we know each other.
Yeah. It took me a while to actually pronounce it. I don't know if I ever told you that, Jesse. I was talking to, he was a mailman, and I chatted with him. He said, oh, I'm from Alaska. I said, where? I said, well, I have a friend from Alaska. So from where? I said, I don't know. It's something that I can't pronounce. He's like, whoa. He said, Wasilla. So he just knew what I couldn't say. I said, something with something. I can't say it. So finally, I can say it.
You got it.
Yeah. So I think he was there.
So it is interesting for you to be so far north, where I don't know, how big is that town? How many thousand people live there?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. Man, I haven't looked at the census in a while. Maybe like 50,000.
Okay, no, that's a good size.
Maybe not even that. 30,000, maybe it's closer to 30,000.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was thinking, just transitioning to tell us a little bit about starting your business up there, or continuing your business growth up there. Because I had a client one day, it wasn't that long ago, that just said nobody, and she lives Tennessee, Kentucky. I think she's down in Florida now. She said no one has this big mindset of living life big, of wanting to create possibilities and opportunities and increase my income. I'm just not surrounded by people who think like me. And so I was thinking, okay, you're in the, it's not in the middle of nowhere, but
feels like it. We've got a Walmart. That counts for something.
Yeah, so and I was watching your Instagram of just building a business, and just how you've made using social media a real priority for you right now. And I was thinking, what led you, and I don't think we talked yet about your military experience and then transitioning to being an entrepreneur. Maybe walk us through that path that you've chosen, since
For sure.
it's unique.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and great question. So I joined the Air Force when I was 18 years old, and I learned a lot. And I did 15 years active duty, and then I ended up getting out. You know, there was early on in my career, I'd say probably around like year 5, year 6, somewhere around there, when I started getting more leadership responsibility. I started building more confidence and really wanting to lean into that, embrace that, really start kind of building those skills. Mm-hmm. And it felt like for the longest time, it felt like I was always kind of capped or limited on what I thought my potential could be. Because if my direct supervisor or his supervisor didn't see things the way that I did, you guys can probably imagine how the military is. It's kind of like just shut up and color type of deal. You know what I mean? And so that was really frustrating for me when I was in the military. I didn't feel like I really got to step out and really just see what my full potential was. It was really just kind of, get in line. I mean, the military, and to a degree, I understand it. It has to be. The military is not some experiment where anybody can just come in and free will their ideas and all this other kind of stuff. So I get it. But there were a lot of things that I tried when I was in the military. They have a program. I don't know if you call it a program. They have a division in the Air Force. Have you guys heard of was it called NCIS? That's like the Navy's.
Yes.
But but you're a federal agent, so you're legit like the FBI or the CIA or the DEA, but your jurisdiction is just Navy. Mm-hmm. So to my knowledge, each branch has one, and the Air Force has had one called OSI, the Office of Special Investigations. Oh. So you're a federal agent. Your jurisdiction is just Air Force stuff, crimes, all that kind of stuff. And I thought about, I felt kind of capped. And so I'm looking for other opportunities to expand my growth inside the Air Force. And that was something that was perceived to be like a very, what's the word? Prestigious. Yes, thank you, prestigious.
Endeavor.
Position. Yeah, exactly. Today's a Monday. It feels like a Monday.
Yeah, I know. After a holiday, it's gotta get the brain.
So I went and applied for that. They had a job fair. There's probably about 100 people that showed up to this job fair, and you had anybody who, you had people that had been in the Air Force for 2 or 3 years, and people who had been in there for 12, 13, 14, 15 years. And at the time, I think it was around that 6-7 year mark, somewhere around there. And I went and applied, and they said, everybody look around. Everybody kind of looked around. They said, we're hiring 1, maybe 2 people. There's probably about 100 people there. And they said, everybody go home, submit your resume to this, and they gave everybody an email address. Submit your resume to this email address by this date, and then we're going to pick 12 people to come in and interview. And I got a phone call, and I was one of the 12 people to come in and interview. And I remember just being so stressed. And this was kind of the first experience that I've had when it comes to like self-development and mindset. And the reason I'm sharing the story is because that's kind of what started laying the foundation that got me to where I'm at right now. And I remember being so stressed about this interview, as you could probably imagine. And I remember I was on my way to base to go interview, and I'm just so stressed. And I called my dad on my way to the base, and my dad gave me the best advice. He gave me exactly what I needed to hear. And it literally changed everything. And he said, Jesse, just walk into that interview like they need you more than you need them. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that was true or not doesn't matter. But if I believed it, that's what made all the difference. And it did. It calmed my nerves. Uh-huh. And so I walked in there like they needed me, like they've been waiting for me the entire time. It shifted my entire perspective. Mm-hmm. Shifted my confidence. It shifted my energy. It shifted the way that I walked in there. It shifted the way that I communicated. I was relaxed. I was, I was funny. I was, it was unlike most people. I don't think they had anticipated that. So I walked in there, and there was a group of 7 agents all sitting behind a desk. So it's almost like an interrogation room where like there's one chair in the middle of the room. They're all sitting at the front, and for like 60 to 90 minutes, like just pinging off questions. And I got a phone call later that night, and I'll never forget it. It was I don't really meet too many people with my last name, but this guy, his name was Agent Stanton.
Oh my gosh.
And he called me, and he's like, "How do you think you did?" And I was like, "Well, I put my best foot forward." He's like, "Well, you're moving forward. We chose you."
Phew.
I was like, "Wow!" And here's something that was really cool. Was they called my supervisor, my direct supervisor, and then my shift supervisor in, because they start doing background checks and all that kind of stuff. And here's what was really cool. Here's what made this entire thing very impactful for me. Was after my supervisors came back, they're kind of debriefing me on what they wanted and what they asked and things like that. And what was really cool for them to tell my supervisors this, because they didn't have to say this. And my supervisors definitely did not have to relay this back to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, "Jesse, what they told us was that not only did you do better than the other 11 people that interviewed that day, but you did better in that interview than anybody on that panel did when they were in your position applying for that job." And I just thought that was just the neatest thing in the world. Just despite everything, the lack of confidence that I had in myself. I mean, I knew I had more potential, but I don't know that I had the confidence to lead or to even pursue this kind of a position. So that incident, that experience right there played such a huge part in me separating after 15 years.
Yeah,
And
'cause 15 years you're close to, I mean,
Yeah.
20 is
Retirement.
usually the,
yeah, once you hit 20, you got guaranteed retirement and medical for life.
yeah, and all sorts of bells and whistles that go
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
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 I had a retired colonel that when I was 2 weeks from my contract ending, he came and sat down with me. And I never met this guy before. And he said, "Jesse, I hear you're getting out." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "The average person makes $600,000 over the course of their lifetime from retirement." He's like, "You really need to think about this." But how do you tell somebody who's been in that position where they spent not only an entire career as a colonel, now he's doing it as a civilian?
Yeah.
How do you tell somebody like that, "Colonel, come on, man, I'm trying to make 600 grand a month"? How do you tell somebody that? You can't, like, they just wouldn't fathom that. And
Yeah.
so it was really hard when I made that decision to get out. I faced a lot of rejection from people that I worked with. I got made fun of at work. Obviously, Colonel, when I started sharing stuff on social media, my family, close friends, neighbors, everybody's like, "What is Jesse doing? Why is he posting this stuff? Like, why are we talking about money?" It was just very contrary to how I grew up thinking about money and debt and failure and risk, and hindsight connecting the dots. The best thing I ever did was bet on myself, though.
Oh, I love that story. I just from having my son, he served 8 years in the Navy and fell off a ladder and broke his leg and dislocated his shoulder. So that kind of forced him out because of his situation and being on a submarine, etc. And it took him probably a good year to really be able to walk normally again. And
Oh my goodness!
it was just one of those random decorating for a Christmas party at the church and fell off the ladder experiences. It wasn't while he was in the submarine, but he got his time back. That was really what was so powerful for him. Of in the military, you're a commodity. You're part of the machine. And he's grateful for everything he learned there and what it's allowed him to do post being in the Navy. But he had 5 kids at the time he got, maybe 4. I can't remember how long it's been. But just having his life back again and being able to then move forward. He's forever grateful, but also grateful he's out of that system.
For sure, it's a double-edged sword. Everything that I am. And I'm sure he's taken a lot of everything that he learned in the military and skills and all that kind of stuff is, with him forward afterward as well. So
yeah,
that's really awesome.
Yeah. So then, okay. So from that point, where were you living when you decided to get out of the military? Were you in Phoenix or were you, you were in you were in Alaska, and then deciding, like, did you know exactly what you were going to do once you had your last day as a part of the military?
Kind of. I started getting into real estate maybe about 18 months before my contract ended.
Oh wow, that wasn't that
So,
long
and as,
before.
as, as you both know, when your contract is up, it's up. You have to commit another 4, 5, or 6 years. Right? For anybody who doesn't know, the military, it's not like one of those things where you just put your 2 weeks in and just get out whenever you want. So I knew that I had a hard deadline to really figure out as much as I could over the next 18 months if I wanted to take that bet on myself. Otherwise, I was going to have to force myself to do another 20. So
Well, and I was thinking with that your wife had to be on board as well, because there's something about the consistency of the military income that gives you all the peace of mind, and now that's out the door as well, right?
my
Yeah.
goodness, yes, you are
I mean,
100%
there
right.
is some military stipend afterwards, but not what you had as you were full
Yeah, I
time.
mean, I don't have any military stipend. When I got out, like I got zero.
Oh,
Still
okay.
nothing. Yeah, I got
Okay.
nothing. But yeah, I mean that was it wasn't probably what most people would think. My wife and I, we've been married for 14 years, and while she was in Phoenix getting her nursing degree, going to school, she was going through school Monday through Friday. Then she'd have to go drive to one of the hospitals in Phoenix and do clinicals on the weekends for 12 hours. So literally, like, I did not see her. I was playing single dad. We were on single income. I'm just so grateful the military worked with me to be able to juggle all of these things, because obviously we had to work separate shifts and all that kind of stuff to make sure the kids were taken care of, that she's at school. Like, it was the most chaotic thing. And I'll tell you what, Carolyn, when we had $5 where we could go to Little Caesars on a Friday night and get a pizza, it was like, man, we eating good tonight. It was even better when we could scrounge around an extra $3 and change for some crazy bread. It was good, but I share that with you because that was, even to this day, that was the hardest time, not only in our life, but in our marriage. And there was a lot of really hard conversations going through that time. And coming out of it, when she finally graduated, and then we ended up moving up to Alaska in 2018, she even had on her graduation cap, she said, it said, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. That's what she wrote on her graduation cap. And throughout that time, while she was going to school, and it was really difficult, and we were having these really, really crazy conversations, one theme that kept coming back was we both grew up with our parents saying something to the tune of, you can do anything you want in this life. There isn't anything you can to do. And this was something that was really important to her, to be able to go to nursing school. Her mom's a nurse. And we just couldn't, having created 2 kids, we couldn't look at our kids and say, you can do anything you want,
And not do it yourself.
knowing that we threw in the towel.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're right.
So I couldn't be a hypocrite. So all this to say, when it came time to make this decision and tell my wife that I wanted to get out, it wasn't a hard conversation. She was like, dude, you supported me all this time. Like, of course, I want you to pursue your dreams. Go, do it. And those 18 months, as I'm working full time, getting up, I start getting up at 3 a.m. to work, between 3 to 7. I'll come home and work. I'm missing our kids' activities on the weekends, because we had to make this work. And so, that was kind of, that's kind of how the 18 months went for me, making that transition and getting out and jumping into this full time.
Well, I'm building that foundation too, of what's next, and that takes time. And My mom's a nurse, my stepmom's a nurse, my dad was a pharmacologist, my stepdad owned a pharmacy, so I totally get that world.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it can be chaotic and unpredictable. And when you're married to an entrepreneur with all of that, and then you got 4 kids, it's woo, it's a doozy.
Yeah, well, I love it. So then your decision to move up to Alaska because of all the craziness going on there in Arizona, and then is she still working in nursing or is she able to let you fly? And although I know nursing is something that can be very somewhat flexible of shifts here and there, kind of a thing.
For sure. No, she's done. When we moved up here in 2018, she did a handful of different nursing jobs. She worked at a couple different hospitals doing a couple different, things. She worked just all over the place. And she finally landed on her dream area, which is labor and delivery. That's where she's always wanted to be. She just wants the babies, which is great because I'm already capped out at 4. So she can go to work and get the baby loves in there, and then come home and be mom. All about that. But no, she loves what she does, and that is, she's not working because she has to. If I had $1 billion, she would still be doing it. She just absolutely loves it, and it's neat because she'll call me when she's on her way home from work, and she just loves it.
Yeah, no,
she's just so grateful that she's doing something that just fulfills her.
Yeah. So did you have a question, Mary?
No, I just thought maybe from here we can actually probably move forward, like, fast forward. Here we are after almost like what? I know you started 18 months before you finished your military, but it's been like 4 years, almost going to 5 years when you're in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, okay, so how about you share with us how this journey got you to where you are now?
Oh my gosh, what a loaded question!
I know,
man. That's man. There's a lot. Talk about being from Alaska. I like to tell people that trying to grow a business from Alaska, almost like trying to grow a business from Mars. They're just the resources, the ability that people have, in Utah. I mean, how many different investor meetups or events or things they have going on at any time given during the week.
Yeah. No, it's a time. In fact, my sister, who I grew up in Iowa, which isn't quite Alaska, but it's its own culture there. But my sister said they must drink different water in Utah because there's so many startups that it was really, they call it Silicon Slopes, this area of Utah. There's so much new business happening and businesses that are blossoming all over the place. So you have accessibility to a lot of wealthy people my kids are entrepreneurs that you can just get mentorship from, whereas that's just not your
there's like 2 people that live in Alaska, me and Sarah Palin, and it's like, where do we go from here? Who am I going to sit down with and just learn from, go have lunch with?
Yeah.
And so that in and of itself, just being up here has its own, unique challenges. One of the things that I always try to tell people, a lot of people have it wrong when they think of entrepreneurship. A lot of people think that the mistake that most people make, because most of us grew up in this scarcity W-2 mentality, right? Like we got to trade our time for money. So when it comes to being an entrepreneur and opening, your own business, all we know is how to be an employee. And so we're like, well, I need to go trade my time for money, and I need to go work in my business, and I need to be working all these long hours and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people, where they get it wrong is they think that they got to have the thing first. So if they're a real estate investor, or they're trying to wholesale or whatever, that's the thing that they spend all their time, energy, and effort doing. And they don't take the time to invest in themselves. They don't take the time to develop or learn new skills or anything like that. The priority is, I've got to get a deal because I don't have any money and I need money, and I either need to go door knock, or I need to go cold call, or I need to start doing all these things where I'm just hammering phones all day. And then once I have the thing, then I get to do the thing that person does. Now I'm a real estate investor. Now I can update my Instagram bio and put real estate investor on there, right? And people have it wrong. So it's not have, do, be, because a lot of people think you got to have the thing first. Once you get that first deal, once you have it, then you can do the thing. And then you can finally be the person that does those things because you did it.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake that a lot of people make, and myself included. And one of the things that really helped me fast track my growth, especially being up here in Alaska, was understanding that it's not having a have, do, be mindset that most people think.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start with yourself. It's be, do, have. You have to be the person first. So taking some time to gain some clarity around, I'll give you a real quick example. Me being in Alaska, my first business partners lived on the East Coast. I'm 4 hours behind the East Coast. So by the time I got off work at 4 p.m. on base, drove an hour north, got home, high-fived my wife. My wife's going to we got 4 kids, but I had 3 at the time. One of them was a newborn. I had to clean the house. I had to make dinner. I had to get my kids bathed. I had to get them in pajamas. We had to eat dinner. I had to put everybody to bed. I was finishing up my degrees at the time. And then somehow, in addition to all of this, I had to figure out how do I call people? How do I run a business? And none of this started until I walked through the door at 5 p.m., which is 9
After hours. Yeah.
p.m. in Florida.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I went through a lot of just mindset issues. You know, Jesse, why'd you think you could do this? There's nobody in Alaska doing the thing that you want to be doing. You don't have any resources up here. You don't know anybody. You didn't come from money. You don't know anything about sales. You don't know how to communicate. Like, just probably a lot of similar thoughts that maybe a lot of us have, you know, I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started focusing on myself, once I started getting clarity around, I had a mentor tell me one time, he said, millionaires don't complain about time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm looking at my circumstance, when people say they don't have time, and I'm looking at my circumstance, I'm like, dude, you don't even know. You've got all the time in the world. You don't know what no time means. And so he said, millionaires don't complain about time. And I thought about that for a second. I thought, well, let's say that is true. And 90% of millionaires are self-made. Then there's reason to believe that a good chunk of those, probably the majority of them, have been through similar circumstances I have, if not worse. So it got me thinking, like, what am I missing? And then it put me in the mindset of be. Like, what would the multi-millionaire version of Jesse do? Like, who's the Jesse in 3 years from now? Who's the Jesse in 5 years from now? Like, what is he doing? How does he think? And just by putting myself in that position of, like, who is Jesse that's doing the thing that I want to be doing, and how does he think? Because I don't have to wait to do that. If I can get clarity around that right now, I can understand how he thinks, then I can just step into that now.
Yeah.
I can start being him now. What are his traits? What are his characteristics? What's important to him? How structured is his day? What does he prioritize? How does he use his time effectively? So I started doing that. And I had this epiphany, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Why don't I just get up at 3 a.m.?
Right, that's 7 a.m. in
That's 7.
Florida.
It's probably a little early. It's better than calling people at midnight in Florida, though, I think, you know?
Yeah.
So I started getting my laptop, and I got my cell phone, and I would go out to the car in the garage, so I'm not waking the rest of the family up making calls at 3 a.m. And that's where I started, you know, honing my skills, my abilities. That's where I started callousing my mind. You know, there's a lot of people that say, man, I would kill to have this thing, but they won't even get up 60 minutes earlier to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So even now, I did a Zoom a few weeks ago that was like 6 a.m. Central Time. So that's 3 a.m. here. So that means I had to be up at 2:30 to be dressed and prepared and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, yeah, I'll come. I'd love to come on your Zoom today.
Yeah.
So
Well,
my day just started
habits.
at 2:30.
Yeah, you build habits that you know, you don't say no because time, which is
Right.
awesome. Nothing stops.
Right.
Yeah. It is amazing how people will find every excuse on earth why they can't do something or why they're not where they want to do it because they're just really not willing.
For sure.
Basically. They're just not. So
You hit the nail on the head, Mary. It comes down to habits.
it really is.
And those seeds that I planted 4.5 years ago, like I'm reaping those now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reaping those now, and I think a lot of people don't. They really truly underestimate what they can do in the long term. A lot of people are scared to get started, but what they don't understand is like the longer you take to get started, you're not going to see those results now. It's going to be,
Yeah, down the
sometime
line.
in the future. So if you wait another year to get started, you might be pushing your results that you want out several more years.
Absolutely.
So I always say success happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, I actually love that sentence, like that quote. It's so true.
It
Because you
is.
can have tons of opportunity. If you're not prepared for it, you won't even see it. You
Right.
know? It's just going to pass you so fast, like you're driving in a highway.
Well, and
So,
I was thinking about just how Mary was saying so many people know you now. So, how did you go from where you are in Alaska to being known? So
Man, that's
well?
such a great question. It's going to be really anticlimactic, though, ladies.
yes.
It's social media. As soon as I did my first deal, here's where I got really introspective, like I was saying, and I spent my first year in real estate, working all this time, like getting up at 3 a.m., like doing all the things. And my first year in real estate, guess how much I made? Mary might know this.
I do. Let's let Caroline guess.
Well, I
Ballpark me.
ballparking $50,000.
Almost. It was $1,200. I
Yeah,
made a
We're not
whopping
going to talk about what
$1,200.
you spent that first year.
you
Oh
probably
yeah,
spend more than
yeah,
what you
yeah. I
made.
spent even. Yeah, I was probably close to about 60,000 in credit card debt that first year, but I made a whopping $1,200. And so, what most people do is most people would look at that year and be like, I just have to work harder. I have to work harder. I have to work longer. And in my mind, I spent a lot of time getting really introspective and really into my mindset, self-development, getting organized, setting up systems, developing a different way of thinking. And so I told myself, if I want the exact same result the next year, then I've just got to do the exact. If I want to make another $1,200 next year, then I just got to do the exact same thing I did this year. But when you figure out like there's something called the 20-80 rule. And
Yeah.
basically, in short, it's 20% of the things that you do produce 80% of your results. So when you can pinpoint, like, what were one of those, what was that one or two thing that actually gave you that domino effect to produce that result? And for me, looking back at that, every dollar that I've ever made as an entrepreneur was built from an opportunity created via social media. And so I was like, well, why don't I just make, if that's the 20%, then why don't I just make that 20% now the 80% of the thing that I spend my time on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's it. I mean, there's so many different sayings, your network is your net worth, and yada, 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 yada. It's produced so many different and wonderful and amazing opportunities. I had the opportunity, me and Miri, were able to connect and meet this year at a mastermind that I held in Las Vegas in June.
Yeah, finally met him
Would
personally.
have
Oh,
never
that's
happened.
where
We
I
had
knew she went
investors
down to
fly
Las
in from
Vegas.
all
It
over the
was-
country.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. But all of that would have never happened had I not made social media a priority. I think a lot of people think of social media as a good idea, something they know they should be doing,
Yeah.
but they need to spend more time cold calling or doing the thing that's going to be the employee in their business. And nobody takes the time to ask themselves the question, how can I do social media and build a business that still gets all these things done, but I don't need to be the one doing it?
Right.
Because that in and of itself is to put you in a position to build and develop different skills.
Yeah. Yeah, just really reevaluating where your time is being spent, because it goes back to that one commodity that we all have is time, and
sure.
and we can't like get a vending machine and bring it, like you can add memory to your to your computer so you can put more stuff in it or whatever, but time is really, you have to really go back and think about how am I spending my time,
Yeah.
so that I can meet the needs of all the different things. And so it comes
Absolutely.
back to being really efficient in how that time is best spent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you do a lot of training. So you've taken your military background where you really identified something you were passionate about and wanted to do, and now you also do coaching, and especially business coaching. I think of just building businesses and helping people understand what's. And I love what you were saying. Okay, if your business or your team isn't growing, it's not your team that has the problem, it's you that as the leader. And I think that's another, whether you're a leader in your family, whether you're a leader in your neighborhood, for whatever, your school, your church, your community, city council, wherever it is, that this leadership. So tell me more about, because we have just a few minutes left here, but just how, yeah, just that skill set and leadership, expand upon that and the business you created around that.
For sure, for sure. One of the things I didn't mention is one of the jobs I held in the military was an instructor, and so they sent me down to a place in Texas to actually learn how to become a professional public speaker and mentor and coach and supervisor, and actually I developed curriculum professionally. I wrote curriculum for the Air Force, a lot of leadership development stuff, a lot of stuff they still use today, as a matter of fact. And the thing about being in the military is a lot of people in the military, they look at what they do, and by the time they get out or think about getting out, they're like, well, where am I gonna go take these skills? I've been working on 5th generation stealth fighters for the last however many years. Where else am I going to do this unless I come back, continue doing what I'm doing as a civilian, working for the DOD. And I really loved that. That was what gave me fulfillment. Mm-hmm. I loved my time as an instructor. I had so much fun. And I wanted, as cool as real estate is, being able to help and to serve people in this capacity, utilizing the skills and experience that I had in the military, was something that I just got complete fulfillment from. It's something that I woke up every single day just so excited for. And so between my leadership experience in the Air Force and then my experience as an instructor, I thought, man, this would be really, really cool to be able to bring to the market. And one thing that I love about the military, Carolyn, and this kind of goes back to your question about leadership, how I think about leadership. One thing that I learned in the military that I've never heard anybody phrase it this way before, but this is what makes sense in my mind. When you go to basic training, they break you down as a civilian, and then they build you back up. And when they teach you how to do something, they don't just teach you how to do something to where you get it right. Mm-hmm. They show you how to do something to where you can't get it wrong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big difference right there.
Mm-hmm. Huge difference.
We're all in the shower. This might be a little TMI. We're all in the shower, right? And they know there are adults that join the military that do not know anything about personal hygiene.
No.
The military knows this. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we can't have a bunch of stinky people in the military. So whether they're showing you how to fly a 5th gen stealth aircraft, or they're showing you how to shower, they're not just telling you what to do. They're not just saying grab a bar of soap and go into the shower, wash yourself, get back out here. They're showing you how to do it to where you can't get it wrong. We're all in the shower. Grab the bar of soap with your left hand. Everyone got their left hand in the air. Or grab the bar of soap with your right hand. Put your left hand in the air. With your bar of soap, reach across your chest and underneath your left armpit and in a clockwise motion, lather your soap until you start seeing bubbles. And then they rinse it and then put your right hand up and repeat. So they tell you even how to shower to where you can't get it wrong. Mm-hmm. So I took that same mentality both as a coach, as an instructor, and as a leader. Mm-hmm. If somebody on my team, metaphorically speaking here, doesn't know how to shower, there's a lot of people in a leadership position that would look at that and be like, just frustrated as all hell. Well, why don't they know how to shower? Like, they should just know how to shower. Yeah. But when you start looking at things from the lens of, what does extreme accountability even mean? Mm-hmm. You can't be mad at somebody that you haven't set a standard for, that you haven't specifically shown how to do. When was the last time we sat down with our team and said, hey, this was what we talked about doing. I noticed that it didn't get done. This is all on me. And I want to try to figure out where I dropped the ball so that I can be in a much better position next time to be able to serve and support you the way that you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to do it? Did I not communicate clearly? Did I not set deadlines? Where could I have better followed up? So
I'm
you
even
start
thinking
asking
about
these questions.
chores for kids. I mean, you know, you ask your kids to do something, and you go and you're like, wait a second, but you didn't do this and didn't do this and the other thing, right? And you're thinking, okay, so how well were my instructions? And I know my son with the military, he's in teaching now that he's out of the military instruction, but as a nuclear engineer, it was all about the systems and following the protocol and knowing exactly what had to happen. And then he's taking that into business because we also work together, Mary and I and my son, in addition to what he's doing. But it's frustrated him that there isn't more specificity on how to go from this to that. And so I love that example of the shower, because really you can take that into anything of why something isn't functioning well, and it goes back to there wasn't ever any clear definition of carrying out that assignment or instruction or task. So I love that. So that allowed you to see just how beneficial, that leadership is in that, having a system in place on how to achieve the goal that you're all striving to complete, and then that if it's not happening the way you want, or your team isn't, the sales aren't what they want, or whatever, it goes back to what's the system we've been using? Is it working if it's not producing the results that we want? And so it must be interesting then to go into businesses, and because you have such a clear understanding of the value of those systems and just the protocol, then you can see it easily. Are you able to notice that in a business or someone says we're just not meeting our sales goals?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Not both as a coach, but I'm one of the things I'm getting into in 2025 is actually going and buying businesses. And so I've already been meeting with some sellers, and we had some Zooms with sellers and brokers, and one of them was a marketing business. And as we're sitting here listening to the seller describe the business and how he spends his day, I mean, he works 30 to 40 hours a week, and he's taking sales calls and he's doing all these things. And already, like, we're 10 minutes into the conversation, I can already see, like, here are the problems. You're working in your business. And so because you're spending all the time working in your business, you haven't put enough systems and processes in place to be able to buy back your time. Once you buy back your time, what you do at that time now is you start building and developing skills and habits of the person that you're trying to become, because your income will never surpass the level of skills that you bring to the marketplace.
Yeah.
So there's a direct correlation with those two things there, and so there's priority.
I have to interject here something that being under Jesse Raff, I'm telling you, it is.
Wrath, is that what you said, under Jesse's wrath?
Let me tell you, I've grown in so much that I can walk around and thinking, like, how can I delegate everything I don't want to do, I'm not good at, and this is really my priority, because it wasn't before. I'm going to try to do things, save here, and you really don't. And I've learned so much from his mentorship and guidance that where are we losing, where you want to be, how you want to grow. And it's like, literally, you can always ask my husband. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to get somebody to do that. I don't need to do that because it takes me, even though it's little things, but it adds up. Little here, little there, and here you go. 4 hours after, you actually working on things that don't make you money. It's not the best use of my time. And here I am, I just lost 4 hours, and it just bugs me. And it's just because it's training. It's like almost like you get to the point, like it irritates you. You can't do it anymore. You don't want to compromise anymore. That's it. Need to move forward. So I must admit that you get people that way. And it took me a minute, but I did get there, and I'm very happy because I feel like now I can actually grow.
I love that.
I have a lot to learn, But
Oh, we all do. That's what's cool
yeah,
is every day is, as long as you're striving, just be that 1% better. And Mary,
yeah,
I hired a gentleman. I don't know if you've heard of him, Carolyn. His name is Dan Martell. I hired
he's
him as my
awesome.
coach. And one thing that he passed down to me that I'll share with you guys was, and this kind of goes in line with my philosophy that I learned from him, was your job is to build the people. You build the people, and then the people build the business.
You're right.
He said
Yeah.
the biggest difference between millionaires and billionaires, because his mentor is a billionaire. He said millionaires build systems and processes. Billionaires build people. And that's the same mentality that we have in the military. So for me, and I think this has been a big aid in how I've gotten to where I'm at in such a short amount of time, is I started working on building people right from the get-go. Like there was never like a milestone where it's like, oh, I'm stuck. And then it's like, okay, well, what did you build? Systems and processes. Okay, well, now you got to focus on your people. Like that's just, and maybe that's just something that I've always carried with me from the military, was just always focusing on your people. And so it was really neat to be able to hear that perspective from him, because it really just kind of let me know that I'm on the right track to keep going.
Well, and I loved also in I think it was one of your Instagram things, and we learned this through real estate as well too, that you're always looking for someone with a problem, that really all you're doing is solving an issue for someone, and looking for that problem that you can solve.
Yeah.
But also that it's just the importance talking about people. I got to get on my glasses. If your goal is to reach and help more people, you can't do it playing small. And I've heard of other people coaching. They said, I just stopped coaching one-on-one because I can't meet the needs of just doing one-on-one. I need to get in front of more people so that I can be in a position to help more people. And it's kind of what I've taught my kids with raising my kids is, don't be afraid of being known, because you have so much to offer, that by not being known, by not posting on social media or not getting in front of a group of people, whatever the thing is that they're passionate about doing. I have a singer-songwriter is one of my daughters, and another's loves cooking. But gosh, the world's going to be a better place when they know you and get to be a part of what you have to offer. And so I think that's what's beautiful about what you've done, is you've learned it, and you know that if other people can learn it too, just how that will affect them. It will affect them in every aspect of their lives. Because Mary and I talk about, just with women need to really understand how money works, because it not only will affect them and their future, but it will affect their relationship with their children, and giving them those skills so much earlier, instead of depending on someone else to take care of that part of their lives for them.
I love that. I love everything that you just said. You're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head, Carolyn. I think a lot of the mindset portion that people have issues with is thinking bigger and getting seen, because that opens you up for more criticism.
Yeah.
And I'll share something with you that I heard one time, and it just always stuck with me, and it really helped me get over that fear. A man and his son was walking their donkey, and the man puts his son on the donkey, and they walk by a group of people, and the group of people says, man, look how tired that donkey is. Can you believe that that father is subjecting that donkey to the weight of his son? And so he switches positions. He gets his son off. He switches positions and has his son walking while the dad's riding the donkey. Passes another group of people, and he hears him smirking. They're like, man, can you believe how big that dad is? And he's subjecting that donkey to the weight of a full-grown man. And so they both get off, and both of them are just walking the donkey with neither one of them riding. Past another group of people, they're criticizing, why are they even have this donkey, and yada 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 yada. And so they both get on the donkey, And then the same thing, like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. And so
Come
anyway, the
in.
moral of the story is, no matter what you do, you are the villain
Yeah.
in somebody's story of you, in somebody's version of you. You're always going to be the villain. And until you understand that, you're always going to struggle with being okay with putting yourself out there. At least for me.
Yeah,
It's
and
very
at the
true.
same time, people are. It is also interesting that when people find you, they're also so grateful to find you. Like Miri, just talking with such gratitude for what she's learned from you, and I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I think it's I just love hearing about people's journey because it is difficult to step out of what other people would look as like your military career, to get out those 5 years earlier when you were so close to the finish line of the golden handcuffs, so to speak,
I love that.
because I
Golden.
know with my son, he did reenlist because of the carrot that was dangled there for him to put in
Sure.
another. Well, in his case, his first initial was for 6 years, and then it was 2 years, and it is very tempting, and everyone has their time frame. Just like for you, you just knew that it was time for you to move on. You had gotten what you needed from the military, and look at the leadership. Because my oldest son, I have 6 boys, and he's really tried to get some of his other brothers, his 5 younger brothers, to go down the path he did, because it really set him up. Like I can hear from our discussion today, for a lot of success going forward, a lot of what you've built, even though the military was difficult and those years were really hard, there was a lot that laid that foundation for the rest of your life and what you're doing now, which is really beautiful. And it's hard. Oftentimes, those hardest times really set that foundation of, wow, I really can do hard things, and I did it then, I can do it again, and we're just going to do this for this period of time, and okay, honey, we're in this together, and this isn't going to last forever, but this is our goal. You have a vision for something better down the road, and I've just loved hearing your journey, and you're still in the midst of it, because I think you're not much older than my oldest son. As you were just kind of mentioning, and we were here this many years, and also just commend you for enlisting at age 18.
Thank you.
That's my son also enlisted, but he was 23 when he enlisted, so that's also challenging. But everyone has their own path, and so we need to know where people can get a hold of you. Like, is there an event that you're putting on soon that they could be a part of to really get to know you in that context? Or I know I found you on Instagram and also on YouTube.
Yeah, great question. I'm pretty active on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a lot of really great content on YouTube as well. So I would love to connect with anybody on any one of those channels. Yeah, for sure.
In our Facebook group, the
Yes.
Growth Co. It's a wonderful place to come and be part of our group, because I think there's so much amazing people there, like-minded, and like as Jesse said, there's so much amazing content that you can't lose.
And I know, I don't know if it's open to everyone, but you mentioned in your Friday's episode that you do a Q&A on Saturdays.
I do. Yeah.
I
Sometimes
like
I'll
that.
stream it. Sometimes I'll just have people DM me questions, and I'll throw them in my stories. I'll answer them.
Great. So let's say they wanted to throw a question out to you. What would be the best? Just go to one of your social media sites and
Yeah. You can. Yeah. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Yeah, I'd love to connect with you guys. Happy to help anywhere I can. We do lives every single Thursday. We had a couple events planned for December, but it turns out December is a pretty busy month for most people. So
Yep.
we got that kicked back a little bit, but we'll be doing a mastermind in Alaska for sure in June. I'm sure we'll be having a couple events before, then as well. So
Great. Great. Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much for spending this hour with us, with Mary and I. It's fascinating. I had another gentleman in our community who has been very successful with his business. He said, you know what I love doing now is just reading people's stories of how they went from point A to where they are today, that journey, that hero's journey. And I feel like we kind of got a prequel of that today, because you're still in the midst of building whatever comes next. But just maybe close with what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I wish I would have prepared for that one. Man, what a loaded question. Man, that's such a good question. I have so much, it's like, when I think of that question, I think, there's a lot of people that maybe you guys have been asked this question before. Where do you see yourself in like 3 years from now? Or where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And just within the last 2 years, like had you asked me that in 2022, I accomplished everything that I thought that I would have done in 5 years in 2023. And then if you would have asked me this 12 months ago, I would have accomplished a good portion of it, the majority of the stuff that I thought would have taken me 3 to 5 years just this year alone. I didn't think that I would have an event or that anybody would, want to fly into Las Vegas, to go to an event. Or I got asked to, I'll be speaking at a TEDx conference. I'll be at a TEDx speaker. I'll be speaking at an event in the beginning of the first quarter of the year. The keynote speaker in front of 2,000 people. And so it's such a loaded question. I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, I'd love to say I'm going to have this big impact and I'm going to be speaking on all these stages. I'm going to be, man, that's such a good question though. I'm sure it's going to turn out in a way that I hadn't.
Well, and I think that's also good to know too, that because sometimes people have a hard time really visualizing all of it. They're just marching ahead, moving piece by piece. And I think it's really beautiful that and we talk, Mary and I, in our business, just compounding, how things can compound. You set that foundation, you lay that foundation, and for each person there's a different time involved in laying that foundation. But once that foundation is laid and you understand what your strengths are, and you get clarity on the focus of like for you, leadership and in teaching and systems, it allows you then to kind of march forward in that lane until another thing opens up. Like, I don't know how long you've had your YouTube channel, but it's piece by piece you feel guided in the next step. And I think it's beautiful to just share with us that like time is condensing in the ability to achieve things because of what you've taken the time to put in place.
Absolutely. I think you're right on it. We've got, of course, personal goals and then business goals, and the way part of my leadership philosophy is, it's important. I talk about setting these 10x goals. It's just these goals that are just so huge and massive, and it's like, man, I can't even fathom what this even looks like right now. But when you set goals that big and you start putting a plan together, a blueprint, a roadmap, and you're obviously that roadmap's going to iterate along the way. It's not like, oh, this is it, but it's going to iterate. And when you shoot for goals that are just so big that everybody underneath it, their goals, everybody on your team, their goals should be able to fit underneath these goals. Like it's your job to be able to set, you have to set that precedence. And so the reason I share that with you is because as I'm reflecting on your question, there's going to be so many things I think that come about, and as I'm actually looking back at the last couple of years, you always connect the dots looking back.
Yeah.
And as I look back at the last couple of years, that's exactly what happened. Like the impact or the reach that I've had was never a conscious thing. The impact or the reach that I've had has just become as a byproduct of me having a clear goal and just saying no to literally everything else that does not in alignment. Like people come to me with different, hey, we got this RV park. It's like, great. I'm not even like, I don't care how good the deal is. Like that's not in my path, And so I've just gotten really, really, really good at saying no to most things and just staying on this path, and then the impact, the result of just staying consistent with that has been really interesting to see. And so it's hard for me to, it's something I've never, until you just asked me that, it's something I've never consciously like thought about, like, man, I wonder, I don't know.
Well, it goes back to the 20% that we talked about before. I
Yeah.
hear you also saying, I've decided what that 20%
Exactly.
it is that
Yeah.
I really want to be focused on, and that will result in my business growing, my reach expanding, and then just honing in on your messaging of what it is you want people to know, to for them to have the opportunity for success as you've also had.
For sure.
So, well, great. Well,
Yeah, well,
thank you so much for spending time. Any last words, Miri, you want to share?
No, I thank you for coming and sharing all those wonderful things with us. I know it's going to help somebody there. More than one person, I know that.
Yes. Thank you
You ladies
so much.
are amazing. Thank you again so much for the opportunity. Miri, it's been such a privilege and a pleasure to have you not only in my life, but just your friendship. It just means the world to me. And I look up to you in so many different ways. I learn from you every time we get the opportunity to talk. And I just want you to know how grateful I am for you, and that our paths cross, that God put you in my path. And Caroline, I'm looking forward to getting to know you more and doing some more stuff and just building and developing our relationship. And so just thank you both for the opportunity to come on today and to spend some time with you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and thank you, and have a great December and Christmas with your family. And
Thank you.
I don't know, do you ice fish in the wintertime? You said you had fishing gear.
Man, you know what? I fish like a mofo during the summer, but man, I've seen so many people. There's just in Alaska, people go snowmobiling across lakes and then they disappear.
Oh my gosh.
So people go fishing on lakes, they disappear. The campers disappear.
You're
People
not
bring their
doing that.
campers, their trucks on the lake, and I'm like, nope, that's a no for me, dog. So
It's fine. It's fine. You've got your
just gonna
igloo
hunker
there,
down and
you're
work all
doing-
winter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're doing a lot of good in your igloo up
Yeah.
there. And so, well, good. Well, you take care, and thanks so
Thank you.
much
You
for
too.
today.
Thank you.
It's really been a pleasure, and
Appreciate
look
ya.
forward to following you and all that you're doing.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a
Yeah,
good
bye.
one. See ya.
Bye.